My show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GBNews, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good evening, it's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, standing in for Patrick Christys tonight.
For us, it's very important on small boats that we get our arms around the engines that are being used in those small boats.
Well, yeah, this one's really stuck it to those people smugglers, hasn't it, Keir? Smash the boat engines, well done. Plus, I'll be revealing the eye-watering bill being footed by taxpayers, all because migrants can't speak English before they come and live here. Also tonight.
With the help of Allah, with your support, and with these guys behind me, I know we're going to take this, inshallah. Inshallah.
Remember that. In the maddest news of the week, a convicted terrorist will stand for election in Birmingham alongside other pro-Gaza candidates. Are we now living in a sectarian society? And...
How are you?
I'm
Lovely
good,
to see you.
thank you.
You've had a child and you're having another child since we last met.
I was going to say, you've done 1 to 2. What can I expect?
1 plus 1 does not equal 2. I'm really sorry.
5.
The Prime Minister's given social media stars one-on-one interviews and invited them into briefings. Meanwhile, GB News can't even get the questions in at some press conferences. Plus...
At the end, they call us fascists. They are literally wanting us banned. They've used violence, death threats against us.
Absolutely bonkers. Students are being sent death threats simply for supporting Reform UK. Why are the left so intolerant? And...
There's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see.
A beautiful Armada. The world is holding its breath as Trump weighs up a strike on Iran. Tonight, I'll be joined by the son of 2 Brits detained in Tehran. And on my panel tonight, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Tory peer Lord Bailey, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Laza. Oh, and what's going on here?
Here we go. Oh, hello. Hope you saw that live on GBNews.
Sensational stuff there, isn't it? Your Thursday evening is just getting started, but first we're going to get your bulletins with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you. Back to Alex shortly. First, though, a look at the headlines at 9 o'clock. Keir Starmer says the UK is turning the page on its relationship with China as he makes the first visit by a British Prime Minister in 8 years. Talks in Beijing with President Xi Jinping have delivered a package of agreements today designed to unlock trade and travel. British citizens are set to get free visa access to China for up to 30 days, and import taxes on UK whisky have been cut in half. Downing Street says the deals are about giving British businesses a foothold in one of the world's biggest economies, while insisting national security and human rights concerns won't be parked to one side. Well, the Prime Minister says engaging with China is now unavoidable and argues the challenge is doing it on Britain's terms. Here's Keir Starmer speaking earlier.
It's vitally important that we're here today because as 2 proud nations, G20 economies and permanent members of the UN Security Council, it is in our common interest to find positive ways to work together.
Well, back home, the trip has sparked a sharp political row. Conservative MP Chris Philp among them. He's accusing the Prime Minister of bending to Beijing's agenda and risking Britain's security.
People are losing their jobs, businesses on the high street are going bankrupt, and he is now in desperation going to Beijing, kowtowing to the Chinese, hoping for some economic crumbs of comfort to fix the mess he's created.
In other news tonight, Great Ormond Street Hospital has issued an unreserved apology after a damning report found 94 children were harmed in botched surgeries by a former surgeon. An independent review of nearly 800 cases linked the injuries to orthopaedic specialist Yasser Jabbar, who treated children at the hospital for over 5 years. 36 of the young patients suffered severe harm, with investigators blaming poor surgical planning, inconsistent decision-making and serious failures in record-keeping. The hospital admits patients' safety systems did not work as they should. Mr Jabbar no longer holds a UK medical licence and is believed to be living overseas. Police are now assessing whether a criminal investigation is required. A teenage killer who murdered a 12-year-old boy in Birmingham has been described by police today as someone who enjoyed hurting people. The 15-year-old, who can't be named for legal reasons, pleaded guilty to murdering Leo Ross, stabbing him as he walked home from school in Yardley Wood last January. Detectives say the teenager had attacked multiple vulnerable victims in the days leading up to the killing, including beating an elderly woman and throwing her into a river. After stabbing Leo, officers say the killer returned to the scene, watched the aftermath and even spoke to police. The murder weapon was later recovered, with DNA linking the teenager directly to the attack. And Britain says its allies and the UK are working to ensure Iran does not develop nuclear weapons, as the US has stepped up its military presence in the Middle East. Washington has sent additional warships to the region, bringing the number of US destroyers there to 6, alongside the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group. The build-up comes as tensions with Iran are intensifying and as Donald Trump issues one of his starkest warnings yet. Iran, though, has responded defiantly, saying its forces have their fingers on the trigger and insisting its nuclear programme is peaceful. Well, those are the 9 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in around an hour's time. Now, though, it's over to Alex.
English taxpayers have spent £350 million teaching migrants to speak English. Last year alone, 170,000 migrants were enrolled on taxpayer-funded English language courses, costing the public a whopping £350 million. And that doesn't even include Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland. That figure has risen by 44,000 in just 5 years. Meanwhile, hard-working Britons are struggling to pay their bills, and the government has overspent £250 million on these lessons since 2018 because so many new arrivals can't manage a basic conversation. This isn't a handful of people, is it? The 2021 census showed almost 800,000 people living in England and Wales can't speak English well, and 138,000 of them can't speak it at all. A third are Syrian, over a quarter are from Bangladesh, and a fifth are from Pakistan and China. And I suspect that number is far higher today because that data was collected before the Boris wave, where millions were flown into Britain on what I would say are questionable visas. These are not highly skilled, fluent arrivals ready to integrate and contribute, are they? They are arriving unable to speak the language, then expecting the public, you at home, to fund their catch-up classes. I sincerely, highly doubt many of these arrivals are net positive contributors to Britain economically and certainly not culturally. If you cannot speak the language of the country you are coming to, you shouldn't be here in the first place. It's shocking we even have to say that out loud. Integration starts with communication. It's really not complicated, is it? And we are already seeing the consequences of this. Neighbourhoods where entire communities recreate their home cultures with no shared identity, particularly not a British one, no shared values and no shared language. Again, particularly not the English language. In my hometown of Harrow, a London borough, 63.2% of pupils don't speak English as their first language, according to latest Department of Education figures. Quite shocking stuff, isn't it? In Glasgow, a recent report found 1 in 3 children do not speak English as their first language too. And nationally, in England, it is an absurd 21.4% of all pupils who now have their first language other than English, basically. In 2005, that number was just 10%. And this is not gradual change, is it? In my opinion, this is rapid transformation without preparation, without proper evaluation of people's contribution, without cultural benefit to Britain, without economic benefit in many cases, and without a serious plan to integrate these people in the long run. All I have to ask you watching at home, is this what you voted for? Let's get the thoughts of my fantastic panel tonight. Journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Conservative Tory peer Sean Bailey, Lord Sean Bailey, should I say, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Larser. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Linda, I'll start with you. I think it's really important we have more national conversations about this, because for decades we weren't really talking about immigration, under which time it has now, it's seismic levels, it's disrupting communities, it's causing a lot of tensions, and we're still bringing in people that can't fully speak our language, in some cases can't speak English at all, and the taxpayers having to foot, basically £250 million to pay for it.
There's no question that actually speaking English is the most important thing when it comes to integration, bar none. Now, this is normally done and has been done for decades in this country via something called ESOL, which is teaching English as a second language. Now, this can be done very, very successfully. Even Nadeem Zahawi, who's now joined Reform, arrived in this country, I believe, as an Iraqi refugee, unable to speak a word of English. By the time he was 19 and he left school, he was fluent. So there are remarkable cases when this can happen very successfully. But the problem I have noticed, because I've actually taught some ESOL classes myself, is that you get whole communities, particularly where women are concerned, where they never learn to speak English. The children do. The children are remarkably good at adapting. But my question is, if you want them to learn English, well, you are going to have to provide these ESOL lessons, and they will come at a cost to the taxpayer.
But isn't the point, I'll come on to you, Lord Bailey, isn't the point that people shouldn't be coming to Britain, unless they are, of course, refugees? Well, you can make the exception for this. But 800,000 people not being able to speak English very well and the taxpayer having to foot that bill, those people shouldn't have been brought into Britain in the first place. How can we argue that they're an economic contributor?
I go back to my basic point. We keep mixing up who people are economic migrants with people who are refugees. If you're a refugee, it's very unlikely you're going to be speaking English. If you're an economic migrant, we could probably ask that you learn to speak English before you arrive, so you could add to the economy. But I want to focus on this issue around isolation. That's why we have big communities in this country who are completely divorced from the country, cannot integrate, will not integrate, because they don't have command of the basic language. And what's really important as well, it also means they can be exploited. So you get people who are not being paid properly, if they're being paid at all, they have no access to the law. You have some communities where the men dominate everything. Exactly. And the first thing they do is prevent any of the women, and so in many cases the children, from learning English. It means they're in control. But on the flip side, it goes the other way around. I've worked in many immigrant communities across London, and you often have children who rule their household because they've learned English.
They're teaching the parents.
Yeah. And that can be a very dangerous thing as well, because you do not want your children growing up without adult supervision. The point we have to, the wider point that needs to be looked at, we are stirring up huge social problems. People who have traditionally far larger families than us, you sort of lift under the two-benefit cap. That's great, but we're all going to have to be paying for that. It's affecting housing, what type of houses we build. Forget if we build enough, just what type we're going to build. All of these problems will have an effect. We're locking in for the future. And the thing I always want people to focus on, when we talk about housing, we are going to be paying many extra people's rent for the rest of their life. Yep. The last time I checked, our housing subsidy bill just around rent was over 23 billion, and it's going to go up significantly.
Yeah, Matthew, I'll touch on the slight tangent on it, because I brought in the kids' second language as an important example of how quickly the country is changing. In my hometown, my home borough of London, Harrow, 60% of kids, pupils there, English is their second language. Might be mine tonight by the sounds of it. But I think that's showing a rapid change in our demography. That wasn't the case when I was at school there, so I know from my own experience that just living there, that English was the first language of most of the children at that school, and in the short space of, 20 years or so, that is now the second language. That's going to have a massive cultural impact in that area, and it will inevitably cause problems, won't it?
Well, I mean, clearly, I think we all agree that immigration has been, legal migration has been too high for too long. And I don't want to get too party political about it, but we did have the massive Boris bounce, where I think that the eyes were taken off the ball, as it were, in terms of who was allowed to enter. In theory, if you're coming on any of the work visas, you have to pass an English language test, and you certainly have to pass an English language test to get your citizenship if you're moving towards that. So, look, I mean, I agree with Linda. I think that, these are a necessary pill to swallow in terms of the cost of the English language lessons, because the cost of not doing it is ultimately much higher in terms both of enabling people to contribute to the economy and also in terms of social integration.
But I think you've got... Can I just say, you've got a really big problem here, though, and Sean touched upon this, with... You've got a kind of ghettoised situation in this country, and that is like a powder keg waiting to go off, just in terms of civil unrest or violence or something.
Radicalisation is the big one.
Radicalisation is the big one.
You come to a community, you move abroad, you come to a poor community that's technically even more poor relatively. They are the children, they are the young men in particular, that are easier to radicalise.
Of course they are.
But at least if people speak English,
just remind everybody at home, 800,000 people have been on these courses. 800,000 people. There's a lot of people who, in my opinion, cannot contribute to the economy.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to contribute more after the classes. So I think it's a necessary investment.
Why were they here in the first place? Well, they can't contribute. We haven't got 800,000 refugees, so we can write that off, right? So we know these people have come in through visas in some way or another. Why do you think they are here, Matthew?
Well, then I think what happened is that over the last decade is that I think there are two things. First of all, if people came from the EU, they didn't have to. When we were still in the EU, they didn't have to have an English language test, because obviously you had free movement. So some of them may have been topping up their English language skills. I think we know that an awful lot of EU migrants had incredibly good English, but there will be some part of that figure over. I don't know how long that 800,000 is over, but that would have been the case.
Just to clarify, 800,000 speak very bad English.
Right. So I think that mostly won't include the vast majority won't be EU migrants. I think what happened is the rules haven't been applied hard enough. We have seen legal migration start to come down, but the rules are that if you apply for any of the workers' visas, you have to do it. There have been some cases of fraud in people passing, how people have passed the exams. That needs to be clamped down on as well, so that it is a small group of people. And of course, quite a lot of the 800,000 will be dependents, because what happened is a lot of dependents came, particularly in the Boris wave, to whom the test is not applied.
Policy mistake, and we talk about the Boris wave, but what's interesting about the Boris wave, I think it was a political failing. Labour never opposed it. They were very for it. Traditionally, Labour have been all over high immigration numbers.
Sean, the Tories won't apologise for it now.
No,
right?
they absolutely should.
Why?
They absolutely should, because I'll tell you why, because of the social pressure it's going to put in this country. There's lots of things in this country that we think are normal and necessary. We look after children who have been in care. We give them the support that they need. Those things are moving towards being nice-to-haves, and shortly we won't be able to afford.
Can I just say very quickly that I think there is a very big problem with women as well, because these women are really ghettoised. They're really confined, and we already know they come from a culture where, frankly, women are one down, and they are staying one down, and that is leading to all sorts of problems. That's just not to do with language; it's to do with the way women are treated.
It's exploitation.
That has really.
I think that's why the language lessons are important. Once people are here, but there clearly is a question about whether people should be able to bring dependents to whom those English language tests may not apply in the same way.
We're not even talking here about the cost of translators. In councils, the cost of translators...
Well, hopefully English language lessons are an investment, because it means you have to have less translation down the line. One would hope.
I totally get it, but it's an unnecessary investment.
Let's be clear. The same emotion that makes us provide English lessons, ESOL, means we'll always provide translation. That's a fact. We will do. There's a part of us that are decent people. We think, well, if someone is here, we do need to help them, and that's correct. But that emotion has been overly tested. It's been corrupted. And many people are gaming the system. What's interesting when you speak to people in the political sphere, this is why I particularly talk about people on the left, they see everybody as a victim, but everybody sees us as mugs. Yeah. And that's a bit what we need to put straight. We should always help people, but we need to draw the line in the sand much earlier and much harder.
Totally
and that's what we failed to do.
Yeah.
All right, listen, we're up that for now. We're going to talk about smashing the boat engines at 10 o'clock. It's an interesting one, trust me. But in the meantime, it's time for your Great British giveaway now. Tomorrow is the final day. See how you can become our biggest cash winner to date with incredible 85 grand in tax-free cash. Someone's guaranteed to win it, and that someone could be you. Here are all the details.
Lines close tomorrow on your chance to win, as our biggest cash prize to date is up for grabs, an incredible £85,000, and it really could be yours. That's tax-free cash to spend all throughout 2026. What would you do with £85,000? You have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. tomorrow. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Coming up.
Hey, how are you? Lovely to see you. You've had a child and you're having another child since we last met.
I was going to say, you've done 1 to 2. What can I expect?
1 plus 1 does not equal 2. I'm really sorry.
5.
Yeah, the Prime Minister's cozying up to Gen Z social media stars. Maybe he just wants a bit of an easier interview, I don't know. But he's also giving them access to these briefings as well. Meanwhile, GB News can't even get a question at some of his press conferences. Is he avoiding scrutiny? But before that...
With the help of Allah, with your support, and with these guys behind me, I know we're going to take this, inshallah. Inshallah. Remember that.
Yeah, well, and a convicted terrorist will stand for election in Birmingham later this year alongside other pro-Palestine candidates. Are we now having to accept that we are living in a sectarian society? That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
So we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Do we now live in a sectarian society? It's time now for our head-to-head. Well, a convicted terrorist who was jailed for his part in an armed terror plot will stand to become a Birmingham councillor in May. Shahid Butt was imprisoned in Yemen back in 1999 for conspiring to bomb the British consulate, an Anglican church and a Swiss-owned hotel in Yemen. After being released from prison in 2003, Mr Butt became a campaigner against extremism. And now he'll contest the Spark Hill ward, where almost two-thirds of residents have a Pakistani background, as part of an alliance of independent candidates headed up by pro-Palestine lawyer Ahmed Yaqub.
In Spark Hill, alhamdulillah, this is for the Shahid Butt, and he is your candidate for the upcoming council elections in May.
With the help of Allah, with your support, and with these guys behind me, I know we're going to take this, inshallah. Inshallah.
Remember that.
Yeah. So tonight, I'm asking, do we now live in a sectarian society? Going head-to-head on this now are the social policy analyst Dr Rakib Hassan and political activist Shakil Afsar. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me. Dr Rakib, I'll start with you. Obviously, we've all seen this clip, but there's a lot more to this. There's quite a big sectarian movement, in my opinion, across Britain. Do we have to get used to this now, and should we get used to it?
Well, firstly, I'll make the point that in my hometown of Luton, there's many British Muslims who are frustrated with their natural party, which is the Labour Party. And there's many groups who traditionally voted for the Labour Party who are utterly disillusioned with it as a political institution. So I think the question is that there's many British Muslims, they're economically quite progressive, socially conservative, and they're unapologetically pro-Palestine. So the question is there, out of the mainstream political parties on offer, how many can really address those kind of positions? I would say none. So I think the question is here, Alex, we're talking about there's this surge of Muslim independent candidates. This is well beyond Birmingham, by the way. There's post-industrial towns up north, such as your Burnleys, your Prestons, you've got Dewsbury as well in Yorkshire. This is just the reality of it, that if mainstream politics cannot address the concerns of particular sections of the British electorate, then there is that tendency, there's going to be that temptation to mobilise as a religious or as an ethnic group. And I also make this point, if we're talking about sectarianism, there's also parts of Leicester, for example, where you have conservative Hindu councillors, where you have British Hindu voters voting a great deal for the Conservative Party. If we look at Reform UK, now leading the polls on a routine basis, you'll see a significant chunk of support for reform. Those votes have a very robust, ethnically English identity. So I think that when we're talking about sectarianism, we just have to admit the fact now that we live in a political era where identity matters, and that's not just for British Muslims, that's for many groups in the British electorate.
Yeah, Shaquille, I'll pass it over to you. Do you feel like this rise in sectarianism, and I think Dr. Rakib's correct to say that it is in all sectors now. I think where many people get concerned is that as we are not a Muslim country, many British voters are concerned that actually there's a creep of Islamism coming through in some cases, not all the times, but a Muslim vote coming through where British people are, let's say, mostly atheist these days. Not everybody, but mostly atheists, and therefore they don't understand the religious movement. Do you think it's okay for this to exist, Shaquille?
Well, to be quite frank with you, when people voted based on Brexit, immigration or tax, no one calls it sectarian. But when Muslims care about Gaza, suddenly it's a problem. That tells us more about the bias than about Muslims. To be frank, sectarianism means hatred and division. Caring about civilians who are being killed abroad is not sectarian. It is a basic human right. And the fact that, if anything, is sectarian, it is the idea that Muslims should stay silent while others are free to campaign on their issues. So myself, with my political career, I have not gone into politics, as my co-guest said, because of the fact of Palestine. I actually got involved in 2019 when we felt totally disenfranchised by the mainstream parties. Bearing in mind, it was our communities who were propping these parties up to get the wins that they so fabulously held, and they've held a lot of seats. But unfortunately, we've come to a point where we are at a whim. We are politically homeless. Everyone who we vote for actually goes into the corridors of power, and rather than representing us, is misrepresenting us. And I'd add furthermore, if anything is sectarian, it is the idea that Muslims should stay silent while others are free to campaign on their issues.
Dr. Rakib, I'll pass it back over to you. Obviously, I guess sectarianism, when British people see it, and I would maybe argue, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, that the rise in sectarianism, let's say on the right of politics, is a response to a rise of sectarianism on the left of politics. And I think that's been one of the reasons why we're actually seeing mass movements back to churches, for example, seeing record levels, because they're seeing something that they don't feel is part of their values. Therefore, they're rebelling against it. What do you make of that?
Well, Alex, I'd make the point that the face, the portrait of Christianity in modern Britain, it is changing. But I'd actually say that in some ways, even in my hometown of Luton and in other parts of the country, I'd actually say that Christianity is being kept on life support, not so much by the indigenous white British population, but by immigrants from countries such as Nigeria, Ghana, Asia, even parts of India, the Philippines, and also European countries such as Poland and Romania. I think the point we have to make here is that there are reasons why British Muslims, even if they are patriotic and they feel like they have a strong sense of belonging to the UK, they're frustrated with the direction of society and politics. And I'll give you an example. Recent data shows that in 1 year, we had 300,000 abortions. We are an international hotspot when it comes to family breakdown. And I think that when we look at the debate on assisted dying as well, I think that there's a reason that there is that temptation, that there is that need that for British Muslims, if these concerns are not addressed, then why wouldn't they start and ultimately cultivate their own socio-political independent movement? And if people want to call that sectarianism, I think what they need to do, they need to engage in some ways how our politics and how our society does not necessarily relate to British Muslims, even if they are socially, educationally and occupationally integrated in their own country.
Dr. Rakib, just to put this very briefly back to you, many British people will argue that actually it's not the job for British people to accommodate those views. That they would say Islam and Muslims in general are an imported idea into Britain in the last 80 years. So why should British people accommodate them when shouldn't they be accommodating of British values, and that therefore this problem would be solved quite easily?
I mean, you're surely not asking that British Muslims should accommodate for the normalisation of having children outside of wedlock. I mean, I think that's something that...
Putting it out to you, mate.
I'm just making the point that there are... And of course, listen, Alex, you know, I've been a very strong voice when it comes to challenging Islamist extremism. But I think the point we have to make here is that we have to have a proper debate in terms of the direction of our society, how our politics is going, and why there is a temptation within certain groups to mobilise within their own communities to address their own concerns.
OK. Shaquille, final word to you on this. What do you make of it?
Yeah, look, what I would say that United Kingdom has always had many single-issue movements, whether it's the anti-war protests, whether it's climate activism, whether it's Scottish independence. Are we going to call all these people sectarian? The fact that in Birmingham, Muslims are not living in a bubble. We live, we work, we vote alongside every single other person. And the suggestion that we are some separate political tribe is frankly insulting. And I have to agree with my person here, the fact that we have been pushed into being and acting as representatives, because unfortunately the people that who have been representing us are too far out of touch with what is happening on the ground. And this is not only a Muslim issue. I live in an area that we have, we have African people, we have people of all walks of life, and they are disenfranchised with the politics that is taking place, because we have people in suits in London who are dictating representatives here on the ground when the community is completely, categorically has a different view of opinion. Okay. So that's my stance on it.
Fair enough. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on, having a hearty debate about this. Dr. Rakib Ashan and political activist Shaquille Afsar. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Shahid Butt had told GB News, by the way, I've never hid in the past. He says I was convicted of being a member of an armed gang and planning acts of violence. That was the actual official charge that I was charged with. But he claims he was wrongly convicted in Yemen, saying these were false allegations. I was tortured into signing these confessions, and I was never plotting or planning to do any acts of terrorism or violence. He told us he is against violence towards Jews, and if elected, he would represent every single person, whatever religion. He said he has been a vocal voice against radicalisation and extremism since being released from prison. He said his conviction was outside of the British system, so he claimed the law doesn't bar him from standing as councillor. All right, coming up.
At the end, they call us fascists. They are literally wanting us banned. They've used violence, death threats against us.
Students at Sussex University have been getting death threats simply for setting up a Reform UK society on campus. Why are the left so intolerant? But before that...
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
See you.
Cameron. I'm good. How are you?
Cameron, how do you want me? Or
I mean, Cameron works fine.
Cameron.
Or Cam, whatever
Cameron.
Oh,
works for you.
The Prime Minister's cozying up to Gen Z social media stars for one-to-one interviews and, get this, briefings. Meanwhile, here at GB News, we can't even get a question at some of his press conferences. Is he avoiding real scrutiny? That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Sunny spells on Friday for Ibiza and Mallorca. A few showers in southern parts of Italy. For northern Spain and northern Portugal, more wet and windy weather swinging in here, also bringing some heavy downpours through into western parts of France. The south of France, Catalonia, seeing sunny spells on Friday, but it will turn wetter here. Showers in southern Italy and a mixture of sunny spells and showers for the Greek islands as well. That wet weather working its way across northern Spain into Barcelona for Sunday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more unsettled weather to come, lots of rain around during the next 24 hours, snow for some northern areas, all of it accompanied by gusty winds. Low pressure well and truly in charge of the UK's weather at the moment. A south-shifted storm track means these lows are moving in from the southwest, relentlessly bringing more bands of rain in to much of south and southwestern UK. And those bands of rain moving northeastwards, bumping into colder air in the northeast. So could be issues at first overnight across Northern Ireland, the southwest, following yet more wet weather. But then, by the end of the night, there'll be some snow falling across parts of northern England, southern Scotland, most likely above 100, 200 metres, and not really settling until you get to 300 metres. But there'll be some wintry weather around first thing. The Grampians continuing to see persistent rain and hill snow, likewise accompanied by strong southeasterly winds. Northwest Scotland, once again the place to be, plenty of sunshine to start things off here. The more persistent rain clearing Northern Ireland, clearing the Midlands, and showers following. Brighter skies at first for the southwest, albeit with some showers, before the next system piles in by the afternoon, bringing once again persistent and at times heavy rain as well as gusty winds. None of these systems amounting to as much rain as we saw earlier in the week due to Storm Chandra, but not welcome anyway because of the saturated nature of the ground. And the rain in the northeast tending to persist, although the snow mostly confined to the tops of the Pennines and southern uplands by the afternoon. Saturday isn't looking quite as wet and windy. We do still have lots of showers rotating around a decaying area of low pressure in the south. They ease later in the day. Plenty of cloud cover. The driest weather towards the northwest and even some sunshine coming through. Feeling cold nevertheless. Sunday still a lot of cloud around before it turns unsettled again later Monday.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Look, over the past few months, the Prime Minister has thrown the doors of Downing Street wide open to Gen Z social media stars in a bid to reach younger audiences. Or is it Gen Z? I know some of you will be screaming at me. Well, various TikTok stars, Instagrammers and YouTubers with audiences ranging from 500,000 to over 3 million, well, they've been given opportunities to attend briefings and oversee summits, as well as conduct one-to-one interviews with the Prime Minister. Here he is speaking to TikTok influencer Amy Hart about his government's new employment law policies.
Hey, how are you? Lovely to see you. You've had
How
a
are you?
child and you're having another child since we last
I am.
met.
I was going to say, you've done 1 to 2. What can I expect?
1 + 1 does not equal 2.
1
I'm
+ 1
really
equals
sorry.
5.
Yes, interesting stuff, isn't it? Well, I'm now joined by the political commentator Jack Anderson. Jack, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. There's a big question mark as to whether these interviews, and I've seen a few of them, are softball. They're very easy for the Prime Minister. All these people seem very excited to meet him. They're not very political. And is he leeching onto their audience sizes in order to spread a message unchallenged?
So I think there are a couple of points. The first is that there isn't anything inherently wrong with reaching out to new media. You know, the Trump White House has done it quite successfully with their podcasts and their sort of online political commentators on the right in America. So there's nothing inherently wrong with reaching out to new media. Obviously, then, it's the type of new media that you're reaching out to. So you're unlikely to sort of see Starmer on, say, a GB News original show or on the Trigonometry podcast. Those aren't the types of new media that he's going to be doing. But
why though? Why is that, Jack?
Oh, I think we know why, because they'd ask him difficult questions about why he's failing the country, why he hasn't stopped the boats, you know, why my energy bills are sky high.
Yeah.
But the second point really is that he is so deeply unpopular. You know, 71% of the country think he's doing a bad job. They are desperate to find soft media for him because, quite frankly, there isn't a lot out there. And the third really is that ultimately it doesn't really matter what media he does, whether that's old or new, because what he is saying is not resonating. So quite frankly, he can speak to as many TikTok influencers as he wants, but the top comment on the TikToks are still always going to be, get Starmer out.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, I mean, his TikTok account has been getting quite a lot of commentary, sometimes a little bit more comments than likes, particularly on places like X.
Yep.
Now, there's another clip I want to show you, Jack, because there was, obviously, when the online safety bill came out, the government did a big marketing push. And as part of that, normally what they do is put advertisements up, right? Well, this time they used TikTok influencers. I'll just play this clip for you now.
Hopefully I've now got your attention. Just like this pornography bit, as of the 25th of July, you will need to prove that you are over 18 to be able to get served pornography online.
Interesting stuff, right? Interesting. Jack, I guess the government would argue that this is a clever way to get their message out and to make people aware of changes to the law and to reach this particular TikTok Instagram star had over 600,000 followers. There's a lot of people, tens of thousands of likes. Is that the right way to do this, or is it misleading?
Well, ultimately, we'll see in the results, but it's a bit sort of like if a company has a bad product. You know, they can spend millions and millions of pounds on a bad product, but ultimately, if the product's bad, it's not really going to sell. And I think really that's what you're seeing with a lot of these sort of TikTok outreaches, is that fundamentally the message is bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can have 600,000, a million, whatever followers, it's not going to resonate.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence for a second, because some of these AI-generated videos and images can be almost lifelike now, where actually you don't know whether you're getting information from a real person. I've seen some of it, and look, I've spent a long time in the technology sector. I think some of it is very convincing. I've actually been fooled a few times. It's not just like, you know, your grandparents on Facebook are getting fooled anymore. It's young kids. How dangerous is that, and how could governments or, you know, bad actors weaponise it?
Well, I think with new technology, there's always risk. You know, we've seen that over the decades of, you know, the computer, of the phones, of tablets. There is always risk with new technology. I think the most important thing is that you educate people. And banning children from being able to be educated on the platforms that they will be using in later life is not the way to go forward with that.
Yeah, because obviously it looks like we're coming to the social media ban, which will be quite interesting to see how kids catch up later on in life, having no exposure to it. Do you think the government is doing the right thing here by leaning into these TikTok stars, not getting... Do you know what it is to me, Jack? I just feel like governments need scrutiny. They need journalists, they need commentators, and people who are going to give them an opinion that they can challenge in order to get the best out of them. I feel if we're spending taxpayer money on this, which we are, they should get return for investment.
Absolutely. I mean, taxpayer money in the millions. By the way, this isn't cheap. All of this outreach. This is millions of pounds of your taxpayer money. And quite frankly, we'll see the results in a couple of months. But if we look at the polling, it's not looking good.
Well, there you go. Jack Anderton, thank you so much for joining me this evening to talk about this. Speaking to The Times, Downing Street sources insist the approach is an attempt to communicate policy through different lenses. They said it's often a much better way of getting the message about the consumer impacts of our policies across, because they're focused on what those policies are doing on the ground. It's about meeting voters where they are. All right, coming up.
For us, it's very important on small boats that we get our arms around the engines that are being used in those small boats.
Our glorious leader has flown all the way to China, and he's got to... Well, what has he got to show for it? It's this new deal to smash small boat engines. That's right. Has this whole trip been a complete farce? But next...
At the end, they call us fascists. They are literally wanting us banned. They've used violence, death threats against us.
Students at Sussex University have been getting death threats simply for setting up Reform UK societies on campus. Why are the left so intolerant? We're going to find out next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers
have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Reform UK supporters at the University of Sussex have been sent death threats amid protests over the formation of a Students for Reform group on a campus. Earlier this month, Brighton and Hove Young Greens, alongside the Green Party societies at the Uni of Sussex and the University of Brighton, issued a joint statement condemning the formation of the society and its presence at a fair today. Well, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters attended the protests today and spoke to the president of Sussex Reform Society, Dylan Caddick.
All these students, they've been calling for us to be banned, and we're not giving up. We want to keep fighting for this, because at the end, they call us fascists. They are literally wanting us banned. They've used violence, death threats against us, and they're literally carrying out these fascist actions against us. But we're not standing for it. We want to stand up for free speech.
All right, joining me to talk about this now is President of Students for Reform UK, Jack Eccles. Jack, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Quite shocking stuff here, hearing from the young man, what's his name again, Dylan Caddick, the chairman of that society. How has reform in general been attacked, not just, of course, in that university, but across other campuses? Because this is not the first time I've been having this conversation, Jack.
No, well, I mean, personally, obviously overseeing the sort of student branch of the party, this happens quite often. It's happened in Lancaster at the university I go to, where essentially I set up a reform society and over 800 students signed a petition to try and ban it. And I just find the whole thing completely ironic because, like the Green students, for example, at Sussex University, they were labelling the reform students as fascist, yet you know, we're not advocating to ban their freedom of speech. They're advocating to ban our freedom of speech. So, you know, who's really the fascists here? But again, this is why Students for Reform has been set up. It's been set up to combat essentially what's been taking place across universities all across the country. And we're essentially here to provide students counsel, to provide students with a sense of community and a sense of unity against, you know, the sort of leftist attacks that are happening on essentially a daily, weekly basis. You know, we've seen it in York, Lancaster, Sussex, all up and down the country. It's just that the whole thing is just completely unacceptable. And universities are meant to be sort of, you know, places of free speech. When I first went to university, I thought this will be a place where I can express my ideas, I can talk freely, but no, it seems all I've faced and all many other students have faced who support reform is constant censorship.
Jack, how is this impacting, you know, membership of societies across university campuses for Reform UK student groups?
So funnily enough, actually, you would think at first, oh, this must mean it will get lower turnout, less people at events. Completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. There's been branches popping up all over the country, even, you know, in places like London, down south, Birmingham, Manchester. It's completely blown up because I think people are just fed up, young people especially, are just fed up of feeling that they can't express themselves because, you know, we should be able to. That's what universities were built for, to you know, debate freedom of ideas, you know, and I think that young people and especially reformers just want to say their piece, and it's about time. I mean, there's communists on, you know, these university campuses, and we don't advocate to ban them, and many people see them as extreme, but we don't advocate to ban them, yet they advocate to ban us.
Yeah, Jack, do you ever get reports of violence? I was speaking to George Finch, who's the leader of Warwickshire Council, and he told me last weekend that he come under attack, basically, at one of the events he was at. A student union ran event, I believe, or a university ran event, one of the two. Do you hear other reports similar to this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I spoke to George after that happened and he explained what happened to me. And yeah, it's happened sadly at Lancaster. It's happened quite a few times. But that can't stop us. That can't dismay us, because if you give into it, you know, if we just say, oh, well, we get attacked occasionally, we need to give up, that's the wrong way to go about it. You know, this violence, this level of violence, it's just completely out of order. But again, that's why we've set up Students for Reform. It's so we can investigate these cases. And with what's been going on at Sussex, I'll be formally writing a letter to the university, helping the students out with anything they need. You know, it's about uniting and standing up, even if, you know, violence happens. That's the sad reality. We need to do whatever we can, and Reform as a party, through Students for Reform, is going to do whatever it can to help the students who suffer from these issues.
Jack Eccles, thank you so much for joining me, President of Students for Reform UK there. Thank you very much, Jack. The University of Sussex's Free Speech Officer, Professor David Ruane, said freedom of speech is one of the university's fundamental commitments. We have a legal and regulatory obligations to uphold freedom of speech and academic freedom. Those who support and advocate for reform or any other political UK political party are entitled to do so. Sussex is a place of discussion and debate and disagreement, and as it such is unsurprising that this has led to robust debate within our community. The Brighton and Hove Young Green said in a statement, the presence of Reform UK society at Sussex blatantly opposes the values that the student union claims to strive for and jeopardises the safety and well-being of those who belong to groups discriminated against by this hateful party. Well, there you have it, coming up at 10 p.m.
For us, it's very important on small boats that we get our arms around the engines that are being used in those small boats.
Well, the Prime Minister's new big idea is to smash the small boat engines. Plus, President Trump's preparing to attack Iran. I will be joined by the son of two Brits detained in the Middle East. Of course, we will see you very shortly.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yeah, more unsettled weather to come. Lots of rain around during the next 24 hours. Snow for some northern areas, all of it accompanied by gusty winds. Low pressure well and truly in charge of the UK's weather at the moment. A south-shifted storm track means these lows are moving in from the southwest, relentlessly bringing more bands of rain in to much of south and southwestern UK. And those bands of rain moving northeastwards, bumping into colder air in the northeast. So could be issues at first overnight across Northern Ireland, the southwest, following yet more wet weather. But then by the end of the night, there'll be some snow falling across parts of northern England, southern Scotland, most likely above 100, 200 metres and around first thing. The Grampians continuing to see persistent rain and hill snow, likewise accompanied by strong southeasterly winds. Northwest Scotland, once again the place to be, plenty of sunshine to start things off here. The more persistent rain clearing Northern Ireland, clearing the Midlands, and showers following. Brighter skies at first for the southwest, albeit with some showers, before the next system piles in by the afternoon, bringing once again persistent and at times heavy rain as well as gusty winds. None of these systems amounting to as much rain as we saw earlier in the week due to Storm Chandra, but not welcome anyway because of the saturated nature of the ground. And the rain in the northeast tending to persist, although the snow mostly confined to tops of the Pennines and southern uplands by the afternoon. Saturday isn't looking quite as wet and windy. We do still have lots of showers rotating around a decaying area of low pressure in the south. They ease later in the day. Plenty of cloud cover. The driest weather towards the northwest and even some sunshine coming through. Feeling cold nevertheless. Sunday still a lot of cloud around before it turns unsettled again later Monday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest cash prize winner to date, as there's a simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to be won. Go on that dream holiday, buy that brand new car, or just relax in the knowledge that the rest of the year could be on us. But you have to hurry, as lines close on Friday the 30th of January. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong, standing in for Patrick Christys tonight.
For us, it's very important on small boats that we get our arms around the engines that are being used in those small boats.
Brilliant stuff, Keir. Yes, smash the small boat engines. That'll do it. Well done. And breaking news on the front page of The Guardian. The Prime Minister has opened the door to a UK visit by the Chinese leader as part of his reset with the country. Of course, I'll bring you all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages very shortly. And
there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see.
Well, the world holds its breath as Trump weighs up a strike on Iran. Tonight, I'll be joined by the son of 2 Brits detained in Tehran. And on my panel tonight, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Tory peer Lord Bailey, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. And what's going on here?
Here we go. Oh, hello. Hope you saw that live on GB News.
Absolutely sensational stuff. Your Thursday evening is just getting started, but first we're going to get your bulletins with Sam Francis.
Alex, thank you, and good evening to you. The top story tonight at 10. Sir Keir Starmer says Britain is entering a new phase in its relationship with China as he makes the first visit by a UK Prime Minister there in 8 years. During talks in Beijing with President Xi Jinping, the two sides agreed a package aimed, they say, at boosting trade and travel. China has agreed to allow British citizens to travel visa-free for up to 30 days, and there's a cut in import taxes on UK whisky from 10 to now 5%. Downing Street says both measures are designed to help British businesses expand in one of the world's biggest markets, while insisting national security and human rights concerns will still be raised. Here, nearly 100 children were harmed by a surgeon at Great Ormond Street Hospital, according to a damning internal review. That investigation found widespread unacceptable practice by limb reconstruction specialist Yasser Jabber, who worked at the hospital between 2017 and 2022. Out of 789 children under his care, 94 were found to have come to harm, most of them following surgery for complex limb lengthening procedures. One family say that their 12-year-old son still suffers nightmares and will live with the consequences for the rest of his life. Well, the Metropolitan Police has said it is now reviewing the findings to decide whether a criminal investigation may be needed. Women hit by changes to the state pension age have reacted with anger and disbelief today after ministers again rejected calls for compensation. The government reviewed the case after new documents emerged, but concluded no payouts will be made. Campaigners from Women Against State Pension Inequality say 6.3 million women born in the 1950s were not properly informed about the rise in pension age, which left many facing unexpected financial hardship. They've accused ministers of showing utter contempt for those affected, but the government says a compensation scheme would not be practical. A paedophile nursery worker has pleaded guilty today to 26 new sexual offences, including upskirting children inside a classroom. Vincent Chan, who worked at a nursery in North London, admitted the charges at Highbury Coroner Magistrates Court, appearing by video link from prison. The offences include taking indecent images of children, voyeurism and sexual assault. With admissions, he secretly filmed young girls as they sat at tables in the classroom. Chan has already faced a lengthy jail sentence for abusing children as young as 3 and 4. He's now admitted 52 offences in total and will be sentenced next month. In the United States, 2 federal immigration agents involved in the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty in Minneapolis have been placed on administrative leave, a standard step, officials say, after such an incident. Pretty, a 37-year-old intensive care nurse, was shot and killed during a federal immigration operation on Saturday, sparking widespread protests and bipartisan criticism of enforcement tactics. The Trump administration has now dispatched Border Chief Tom Homan to Minneapolis, saying ICE is working to make its operations safer and acknowledged improvements are needed. Minnesota officials and campaigners, though, continue to call for accountability as tensions simmer over federal immigration enforcement in the city. And driverless cars are set to hit London streets later this year. Waymo, Google's self-driving car group, says it plans to launch a pilot service in April using robo-taxis with a safety driver still behind the wheel. The company says its vehicles could be fully driverless by the end of the year, provided regulators give the green light. The government is expected to change the law in the second half of this year, paving the way for driverless taxis to operate in the capital. The Transport Secretary says she's delighted by the announcement, calling it a major step forward for transport innovation in the UK. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you again in around an hour's time.
I can't get over how profoundly stupid this is. Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, wants China and the UK to smash the small boat engines. That's the Prime Minister's big new idea to stop illegal migration. Well, the Prime Minister's flown all the way to China, conveniently, by the way, dodging front pages and questions about his role in the hounding of some war veterans, all in to reset relations with Beijing. And what do we have to show for it? An unenforceable promise from Chinese officials that they'll somehow stop engines being sold to people smuggling gangs. Well, wouldn't that require us to know who these gangs are in the first place? And if we know who the gangs are, why aren't we just taking them out? It's a total laughingstock, this policy, across the press and media today. Then there's this other visa-free travel to China, a lovely little perk, but who actually cares? The big question here, really, is how over the barrel does China have our Prime Minister and, frankly, our whole country? Because the track record of this government on China in its short 18 months in power is quite astounding. And I've got a litany of evidence here to read you. Let's go through it together. 1. Prosecutions in a major Chinese espionage case collapsed conveniently due to disclosure and administrative failures. The Prime Minister blames the Crown Prosecution Service, but they blamed his officials. 2. Chinese state-linked tech firms have been approved for multiple UK infrastructure contracts despite multiple national security warnings. 3. Chinese state security was forced to shut secret police stations down on British soil. The police investigated and found no evidence of illegal activity at these sites, but why were they there in the first place and why were they kept secret? 4. Our primary steelmaker remains Chinese-owned and over 80% of our solar panels come from China. 5. British universities have had open research collaboration in sensitive technologies, even as MI5 warns China is a daily threat to the UK's national security.
This government and the last have been aware of the potential for a new embassy at this site since the Chinese government completed the purchase in 2018. The issues that continue to be raised in the media reports are not new to the government or the intelligence community, and an extensive range of measures have been developed to protect national security. Based on all of this and our extensive work on this matter, I am content that any risks are being appropriately managed.
Of course, that's 6. The approval of the Chinese mega spy embassy against multiple warnings of threats to our national security. Reports even suggested that the Chinese were turning off our water in our embassy in Beijing to pressure the government over that decision. Let's get to 7, because I'm not done yet. Ed Miliband recently selected a Chinese manufacturer to build a flagship net zero steel plant. 8. And the latest news blew open just the other day that China was allegedly hacking the phones of our most senior politicians, including multiple prime ministers.
The courts have already made decisions which undermine our position. And if Mauritius took us to court again, which they certainly would have, the UK's long-standing legal view is that we would not have a realistic prospect of success.
And let's not forget number 9, the surrender of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, effectively a vassal state of China. And what do we get for all of this bending over a toothless commitment to smash small boat engines. It's a joke. This trip is a total farce. To me, it looks more like a Prime Minister paying homage to his master rather than a meeting of equals. If that litany of policy failures in the space of just 18 months doesn't demonstrate that this government is cozying up to the communist dictatorship, I don't know what will convince you. Let's get thoughts of my panel, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, Conservative peer Lord Sean Bailey, and ex-Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. Linda, I'll start with you. 9 things there, and I'm sure there's more. I probably couldn't get to all of them. There, I think, are very concerning. Multiple of those, the litany of things I listed: the spy agency, this massive embassy, the police, secret police stations, the hacking of our Prime Minister's phones. Why on earth are we kowtowing now over to China when the best they can give us is to smash the small boat engines?
Well, the thing is that what China won't respect is someone that performs a latter-day kowtow. They won't respect them. You have to stand up to China if they're going to respect you. And at the moment, I'm not sure that we're doing that at all. I mean, I listened to some of the CEOs that went over on this trip. There were 50 corporate chiefs who went over on this trip. And frankly, to me, they sounded really naive. They didn't understand what the threat was at all. Now, we know there's a really big threat with the embassy at the old Royal Mint, because we know that the embassy is right beside the data cables that go into the financial sector in the city. To me, that and the Chagos Islands are the two really serious infringements. But I don't think that Keir Starmer has given a clear enough signal about how tough we have to be. He knows, for example, that when he got on that plane yesterday, that every single person had to have a burner phone. They couldn't take their own phones. They had to have temporary email addresses. On previous trips, the security has had to have been even tighter. When Theresa May went 8 years ago, it was even tighter. Now, if that's not being done for nothing. It's being done because we know that the Chinese will spy on us. I mean, we'll spy on them. But everyone spies on everyone else. But Chinese are particularly good at it. To them, it's a bit like breathing.
And they're a superpower as well. It's not like we're sort of spying against a middle country, like a similar one to ours. This is a country that owns a lot of infrastructure, can put us at massive risk. Lord Bailey, I also will point that the Conservative Party under David Cameron really cozied up to the Chinese. Many allegations against them for that. But this is a very, in the space of 18 short months, a big litany of issues, in my opinion, with the relationship that we've got with China.
It's funny, because I remember when David and George were being accused of cozying up. Labour and the left were virulent in their opposition to that. You shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And it looks like, apparently, one rule for us, one rule for them. I'd say the major difference was that was much more of a business going on, as a much more trying to make money. What this seems like here is an alignment with China. We're giving China what they want. There is no other country in Europe, I believe, and certainly not the Americans, who'd place the Chinese so close to a vital piece of infrastructure, for instance. London's a big place. Let them buy an embassy somewhere else. It's as simple as that. And I want to talk about this two things. The Chagos Islands, what that shows you is China's patience, China's guile, and our naivety. We're being manipulated by China. They've been a risk to us for ages. Our own security forces are advising the government one way, the government are acting another way. And what that shows you is Keir Starmer has no clue about what to do to them. And what it is as well, he doesn't understand. He has to place Britain in a bit of a sacred place. He hasn't done that, and that to me is a real shock. I'm worried about that. And I go to your point, China will not respect a weak Britain. The weaker we are, the more manipulated we'll be. And there's a key thing, I've been saying it for years now. Chinese spy agencies are bombarding our young people with anti-British messages. They are. That should show us. There's one thing spying on your adversary, but attacking our children in that manner, our communities in that manner, is unbelievable. And that alone should mean we should back off slightly.
Well, I mean, I'm very confused at the moment by people like Kemi Badenoch, who are saying, and indeed Sean to a certain extent, saying we should sort of ignore China. We can't ignore China. Nobody's cozying up to China. This wasn't the Pals Act that you saw with George Osborne and David Cameron back in the day. And, you know, to be fair, they learnt their lessons in future in those many Conservative Prime Ministers we had over that decade and a bit, learned the lesson. But you can't ignore China.
No, but...
And on the embassy... They literally have. The government has literally followed the advice of the security agency. The government didn't go, oh, come and build an embassy in the Royal Mint. It inherited a situation where they'd already been bought that, and the planning permission was
exactly.
no.
Lord Bailey's right. You could have said no. You've got steel coming from China. Why wasn't it built here in Britain? That's another problem. 80% of Ed Miliband's solar panels from China. I've got a litany of things.
Well, I suspect the sofa we're sitting on is made in China.
Let's talk about the steel for a minute. What's important about the steel is China turned off our steel production as a strategic move. If we're buying stuff from China because it's cheaper, that's
this is a fake argument.
Really clever negotiations, because the fact of the matter is that China will become the world's leading economic superpower.
If we let them.
No. They are going to do it.
The Indians and Americans.
I promise you.
They are. I
promise you they
why
will.
you might be right is because countries are doing things like we're doing. But let's be clear, the Indians and Americans are not just going to sit by.
It's because
the Western world could do something about it.
I sat in Hong Kong as a foreign correspondent. This is 2 decades ago. I've interviewed Chris Patton. I've interviewed the new leader, Chung Chi-wah. I've been to Beijing. I've been to Shanghai. Honestly, my money is absolutely...
Matthew, let me ask you this. Let me just, before you get started, because it does appear to many people that the Prime Minister is weak on China. And many people will point to the fact that, well, they will see him as a socialist. How on earth can he dispel those rumours when he's able to attack Donald Trump on left, right and centre when he feels like it, but we haven't said a bad word about China and their terrible human rights record?
He doesn't think he can have a connection. Can I just say, because he's a socialist, he thinks... This is the president of China, Xi, thinks everyone except the Chinese is non-Chinese.
Yes.
Therefore, they are always controlling the situation.
What I don't understand is the idea that the government is sort of saying, oh, we think the Chinese system is brilliant, let's be more like China. They're not saying that. No, they're not saying that at all. Let's be realistic. All these Tory politicians popping up saying, oh, we should have nothing to do with China. I'd like to look in their houses and see, I'd like to look at where their suit was made, they're standing there.
Matthew,
but then you cannot ignore an economic superpower,
No one's arguing that we shouldn't ignore China.
Yes, they are. Kemi's saying she wouldn't have gone.
That's fine. I've been very critical of the Conservatives' past on this, and I don't think we should be cozying up to China. We've got a very good economic ally in America who's booming at the moment. But the problem is that, well, how many more things do you want me to read off?
But Alex, we're not cozying up to them. Let's look at the Americans.
We've got spy scandals.
The Americans are imposing random tariffs on us.
Embassies. We don't need to be doing all of this. We're doing too much.
We're not doing... Can I have a say, Sean? We're not doing too much. We are sensibly engaging with China with a sensible scepticism, but an acknowledgement that China is the number 2 economy in the world, as Linda says, very likely to be the number 1 economy in the world. And, of course, the government has been critical of human rights abuses, both publicly and it will be privately in these meetings as well.
Yeah, but I am saying...
Here's the 2 things I want to say. Firstly, about a smashing of the boats and the idea we're going to do it with China not selling. That's nonsense. They already have those engines. The only way to stop these gangs is twofold. One, you have to have a relationship with the government in the country in which they're operating, and you need to break their economic model, because they will just buy those engines from somewhere else. That's
correct.
And the other piece as well, we have been very critical of America for some of Trump's tariffs and stuff like that, which is true, but we haven't said the same of China, which is practice some very sharp economic practice, and we haven't confronted them. That's why they're such a big power.
Sean's exactly right about those boat engines. All the smugglers will do, once they're presented with that situation, is convert so that they will do something different to get round it. That's all they're going to do.
We have an exclusive here at GBNews today, by the way, saying that these small boat people smugglers were already moving away from China because the engines weren't very reliable.
Yeah, right. But what I am saying is, although China is going to be the economic superpower, I'm almost certain of that. Every economist is certain of that. The fact is, you can negotiate with China and have an effective and adult, sophisticated, as Keir Starmer said, relationship that does not involve kowtowing to them.
Totally
so
right.
all I'm suggesting is the relationship has to exist, be real, but make sure the relationship is conducted along assertive lines.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Linda. Listen, I'm sure we'll be talking about China a lot more in the coming years because they're not going anywhere, are they? They're getting more and more powerful. So I do think we need to get a bit of a backbone on this one. But anyway, look, time now for the Great British Giveaway. And tomorrow is your final day to see how you can become our biggest cash winner today. It's 85 grand tax-free cash. Someone's guaranteed to win it. And here's all the details.
Lines close tomorrow on your chance to win, as our biggest cash prize to date is up for grabs. An incredible £85,000, and it really could be yours. That's tax-free cash to spend all throughout 2026. What would you do with £85,000? You have to hurry, as lines close at 4 p.m. tomorrow. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, I'll have the very first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Trust me, you won't want to miss them. Breaking on the front page of The Eye, the UK is set to deport asylum seekers back to war-torn Syria as part of a migrant crackdown. I'll bring you the very latest on that shortly. But first,
there's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see.
Well, the world is holding its breath tonight as Trump weighs up strikes on Iran. I'm going to be joined by the son of 2 Brits detained in Tehran. He joins me live in the studio next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
1 in 4 children are starting reception not toilet trained, can you believe?
I mean, heck. Teachers say they're losing valuable classroom time, helping with basic life skills and things like not even understanding what a book is or how to use a book. Not saying they should be able to read, but, you know, they should understand how, how to turn a page. Anyway, most parents remain confident, apparently, that their child is ready for school.
Yes, this morning we're asking who is responsible for all of this. Is it the teachers or is it the parents?
Let's talk to the head at the LVS Ascot School, Christine Cunliffe, and parenting expert Kalini Kent. Let's start with you, Kalini, on all of this. This is a parent's responsibility, isn't it?
It is partly a parent's responsibility, but what I would say is we have got to look at what's in the best interest of children. And at the end of the day, there are 4.5 million children nowadays who are living in poverty. And you've got basically children who, 3.3 million also, who don't have the best start in life because they've not got the basic education. They're already starting on the back foot. Yes, it is the parents' responsibility. However, the schools can assist because the children at school, the majority of their waking day, and there are opportunities for them to learn those basic life skills in that educational setting.
Sorry, I mean, just to clarify though, Kalini, you're saying then that under some circumstances, teachers should be toilet training children?
I would say toilet training is going further than they should do. However, if at the end of the day you see a child that's struggling, you cannot just leave them to flounder.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages will be coming up very shortly, but first, the world is holding its breath tonight as President Trump is weighing up an attack on Iran. In a message on Truth Social yesterday, President Trump told the Middle Eastern country that time is running out to make a deal, adding that a massive armada was on its way to the country in preparation for possible military action. Trump's latest warning follows his promise earlier this month to help the hundreds of thousands of Iranians who've been protesting since the start of December. Well, the Ayatollah's regime has responded with unprecedented violence. Estimates suggest that thousands, tens of thousands in some cases, could be dead. Now, a British couple, Lindsay and Craig Foreman, were detained in Iran last year on espionage charges and are now joined by their brave son, who's come in to talk to me today, Joe Bennett. Joe, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I guess the first thing to ask you is, how are you feeling, given your mum and your stepfather are being held captive, we believe, in Tehran, and there's now a threat of war about to possibly loom over them?
Yeah, a precarious situation to say the least. They're held in Evin prison, which is a notoriously bad place to be at the best of times. And with all of the stuff that's going on at the moment, we like to think that any intervention would be good news for them, but you just can't tell what that looks like on the ground. So tense situation, anticipation's high, but nervousness as well.
Talk to me about what you've been doing to try and get your parents released from this prison in Iran.
Yeah, the first thing we've been doing is engaging with the Foreign Office, right? We've been engaging with them since January of last year, and there was this waiting, quiet diplomacy, let's see how this all plays out behind the scenes kind of thing. And nothing's happened, no action's been taken. And at the moment, what we're trying to do is actually get them to take accountability. You know, call this arbitrary detention. That's exactly what it is. Ticks every single box that there is for it. But there seems to be this unwillingness to do anything and sit and wait, this policy to wait and see it out. It's frustrating, is one word.
And your parents were just motorcycling through the northern region of Iran, is that right? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, they're on a round-the-world trip, lifetime trip, motorbike ride to Australia. They were passing through Iran 4 days, little blip on the journey that they were on. Took every protocol necessary to pass through the country, and like I said to you previously, they're not pioneers, they're not the first people to do this. And on the fourth day, which actually, if you look at it, is a bit of a narrative, they were picked up by the IRGC, who, as we've seen, the EU have just called out as a terrorist group, and the UK seem to be following suit. But there's also this feeling that, you know, a bit of victim blaming. It's like kind of, well, why were they there? You know, David Lamley actually hid behind the advice that they gave my parents, not, you know, the warnings of travelling to Iran. But that's not the policy here. You know, if somebody walks down an alleyway and gets assaulted, it's not their fault for being there. It's the perpetrator for doing the assault.
Absolutely.
And the exact same thing and situation applies here. You know, it's not my parents' fault that they were travelling. It's the people who took them and the perpetrator's fault for holding them hostage.
Yeah, do you think that the Iranian government are trying to leverage your parents in some way for some sort of international favours? You know, a situation like this, with there's a threat of war, would be a case to use hostages in that. In my opinion, they're hostages, but of course, I'm sure the Iranians would disagree with me very strongly. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I agree with you. My opinion is that this is hostage-taking and there's some kind of leverage that they want. I mean, it's playing out like that. They've had 2 state-appointed lawyers who have found their innocence. They can tie no allegations to what they were doing to the charges of espionage. So what else are they waiting for? You know, they obviously want something. We've seen it in history suggests this is what they do. This is the playbook they use. They take people from other nations and use them as leverage for their personal gain.
What would you like to see happen, especially if a war breaks out? There's a lot of talk about this war taking place. You know, it could be in as soon as any time, I guess, between now and people are speculating about the weekend. What would you like to see happen to free your parents?
I think it's safety first and foremost. You know, and again, my heart goes out to the people of Iran that they're having to face this unprecedented time. You know, it is a genocide and it's a mass killing of its people, and it's a horrific time. But, you know, for my parents' safety, you'd like to think that the UK and the US are allies, and that if Trump were to go in, that he'd be aware that there's UK nationals, US nationals within Iran. And ultimately for their safe release home, right? That's the reason I'm doing everything we're doing as a family and as a campaign, is because we just want them home.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that we're working for.
Do you have any faith that the British government are going to be able to get a deal done? And are you worried about them prescribing Iran as the IRGC specifically as a terrorist organisation? Because the government's policy on terrorist organisations is that they don't negotiate with them.
This is the worry. This is, you know, I think there needs to be a firmer stance and a sign of solidarity. That's what we're looking for as a family, is that us and the government are pulling for the same thing, and we're calling it for what it is. Yeah. You know, that for us would mean more. We're not expecting, if they called it arbitrary detention, they have a magic wand that they can just bring them home. That's unrealistic. But what it does mean is that us as a family, they, as UK citizens, feel supported and backed by their government, which they should do.
Joe, thank you so much for coming in, and obviously our thoughts are with you and your parents in this difficult time. Please come back to us soon and keep us posted on how they're getting on.
Will do.
Thank you very much, Joe. All right, coming up, I'll have the very first of tomorrow's front pages, and breaking on the news, breaking on the front page of the Eye, should I say, the UK is set to deport asylum seekers back to war-torn Syria as part of a migrants crackdown. Plus, breaking on the front page of the Daily Mail, looks like they've copied what I was saying about just 10 minutes ago or so. They have absolutely slammed the Prime Minister's China visit, and they've branded his small boats deal underwhelming, and they've asked, is that it? More on that very shortly.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunny spells on Friday for Ibiza and Mallorca. A few showers in southern parts of Italy. For northern Spain and north Portugal, more wet and windy weather swinging in here, also bringing some heavy downpours through into western parts of France. The south of France, Catalonia, seeing sunny spells on Friday, but it will turn wetter here. Showers in southern Italy and a mixture of sunny spells and showers for the Greek islands as well. That wet weather working its way across northern Spain into Barcelona for Sunday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more unsettled weather to come. Lots of rain around during the next 24 hours. Snow for some northern areas, all of it accompanied by gusty winds. Low pressure well and truly in charge of the UK's weather at the moment. A south-shifted storm track means these lows are moving in from the southwest, relentlessly bringing more bands of rain in to much of south and southwestern UK. And those bands of rain moving northeastwards, bumping into colder air in the northeast. So could be issues at first overnight across Northern Ireland, the southwest, following yet more wet weather. But then, by the end of the night, there'll be some snow falling across parts of northern England, southern Scotland, most likely above 100, 200 metres, and not really settling until you get to 300 metres. But there'll be some wintry weather around first thing. The Grampians continuing to see persistent rain and hill snow, likewise accompanied by strong southeasterly winds. Northwest Scotland, once again the place to be, plenty of sunshine to start things off here. The more persistent rain clearing Northern Ireland, clearing the Midlands, and showers following. Brighter skies at first for the southwest, albeit with some showers, before the next system piles in by the afternoon, bringing once again persistent and at times heavy rain as well as gusty winds. None of these systems amounting to as much rain as we saw earlier in the week due to Storm Chandra, but not welcome anyway because of the saturated nature of the ground. And the rain in the northeast tending to persist, although the snow mostly confined to the tops of the Pennines and southern uplands by the afternoon. Saturday isn't looking quite as wet and windy. We do still have lots of showers rotating around a decaying area of low pressure in the south. They ease later in the day. Plenty of cloud cover. The driest weather towards the northwest and even some sunshine coming through. Feeling cold nevertheless. Sunday still a lot of cloud around before it turns unsettled again later Monday.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health, Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I've got your front pages here. Let's go to them. The iPaper. UK set to deport asylum seekers to war-torn Syria in migrant crackdown. The Telegraph. Revolt over cancelled elections. The Guardian. Starmer opens door to UK visit by Xi as China relationship is reset. The Mail. Is that it? Sir Kowtow Starmer gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy. It's pretty damning stuff on the Mail there. The Metro. Bus snatch hero sacked. Some interesting stuff here. I've obviously got my fantastic panel here with me to talk about this. Broadcaster and journalist Linda Jubilee's here, Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour advisor Matthew Larzer. I think we should start with the front page of the Eye, because this is Shabana Mahmood's latest crackdown. The Home Office is to step up deportation plan despite concerns within the government about violence, deteriorating conditions in Syria. That comes, Matthew, as the UK is set to deport asylum seekers to war-torn Syria.
Yeah, well, Shabana Mahmood is determined that her get tough stance as Home Secretary isn't just words, but is action, and she, as some say, there are some those who say she should be the next leader of the Labour Party whenever the vacancy arises, and others say that she's actually sacrificing her political chances within the Labour Party in terms of the top job by doing things that not everybody on the left likes. I think she's following countries like Germany, which have said that they're going to start sending people back to Syria. So, her get tough stance looks like it's being followed through.
Yeah, Linda, obviously this will likely be met, I would have thought, with strong ECHR, human rights lawyers. Is it realistic for the Home Secretary to be able to deport these people?
Well, look, I think she's got to try, because she's made it perfectly clear she wants to, be a very strong in this area. And I listened closely to what Matthew said. She's playing quite a careful game here. She's dancing on a pinhead a little bit, because and I think she will succeed in the end, because I think anyone with vision, who has the guts and the courage to move forward with it, probably does have a shot at the leadership. People who pussyfoot around and don't sort themselves out, they're the people that fall by the wayside. Fortune favours the brave in this. I do think that you have to be careful about Syria. The whole complexion of everything has changed in Syria, but it's by no means a bed of roses over there. So you have to be careful about exactly who you send back. But I think as far as the ECHR is concerned, I think that, we will meet a situation where we have to make some very, very serious decisions about that.
What springs to mind with me is a couple of things. Firstly, if she voted against Rwanda, feels slightly hypocritical to me. I keep saying the Tories absolutely messed up immigration, but they did it with the help of Labour, when they fought on everything. The other point I want to make as well, where are the people who took the Conservative government to court? They'll all tell you it wasn't politically motivated, so where are they now?
I think they will. They will take her to court.
If they take her to court, then I rescind what I'm saying. But I want to see...
Jolyn Moore is very... I'm waiting.
I want to see the left treat this government in the same way they treated the Conservative government every time they tried something.
Point, but I think they will, but I think it's a fair point.
Let's see how it goes. I just put that out there. And let's be clear, if she's going to make a move, be good. And is this the beginning of changing? Because they have been the people, the Labour have been the people who said you can't send people here, you can't send people there. Well, if they're going to start doing it for Syria, they need to look at the whole... But her real challenge is, how does she deal with the civil service and their interpretation of what she's asking for, and where do the courts get involved? Because we've had what looks like a lot of activism in court. Yeah. We certainly had a lot of activism in the civil service. How does she deal with that?
Yeah, I think you've picked up some really interesting stuff there, Lord Bailey, because I was thinking about Rwanda, the hypocrisy around that. And I think it's really important, Matthew, that when we take into consideration this is one of the top issues for the British public, that I celebrate that the Home Secretary's trying to do this. These are wins. This is a massive shift in Labour policy, in my opinion. However, she's got to do this for Pakistan, where we can't send grooming gang rapists home to, which we're very, very weak on that sort of stuff. She's got to do this for Afghanistan. She's got to do this for other countries before really Labour will be able to claim victory by the general public.
Yeah, I think Afghanistan may be problematic, but certainly, I mean, I think Syria is just one of a range of countries, and we can't have the situation where people are claiming asylum from countries where British holiday makers go in tens, nay, hundreds of thousands, like Albania or countries in the Caribbean, when we saw that American claiming asylum here, trying to claim asylum here, from when he could have gone back to the Caribbean.
Matthew, we've also. I remember reporting, and it sat on this sofa covering for Patrick. We have had an asylum seeker from Afghanistan go back to Afghanistan for holiday,
which is ludicrous.
So there's a lot of ludicrocy here, and we need to get tough on this stuff because the British public.
It's not in the drive.
The other deep thing she needs to do, though, is when people get rid of their documents, what's she going to do about that?
Yeah.
And when nations refuse to have them back, when she starts to deal with those issues, then she really is taking a tough stance.
Interesting. Let's go to the front page of the Daily Mail here, because this is pretty damning. Capitulation in Beijing. Sir Kowtow Starmer gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew 5,000 miles to suck up to them. Yesterday he announced deals underwhelming. Critics responded, is that it? Well, I think the Mail anticipated what I was going to say to you all 40 minutes ago on this show, because it is, a bit of a nothing burger, this whole trip. It's probably cost more money for them to go to China than it has to strike up any sort of deal.
Imagine the cost. He went there with 50 corporate leaders as well. I mean, that's a very, very expensive trip.
And British press.
I think President Xi looks like he's happy.
Yeah.
I think it looks like he doesn't care. He could almost be photoshopped into this
I'll tell you why this is problematic, because what is demonstrated yet again is Starmer's inability to bargain, inability to negotiate. Yes, you can sit here. I hesitate to call Keir Starmer a fool because he's the Prime Minister. And in this context, I want him to win. Yeah. But he absolutely has not. And nobody can sell this very meagre deal, this very one-sided deal as a win, because it is not.
But I'm not sure it is one-sided, because we're going to get a big embassy in Beijing in return. But we care, because I'll tell you what we'll be doing in the basement, and that's spying, just as they spy. I mean, this whole debate, I don't think I'd make a very good spy. But this whole idea that, that every embassy in London, including the, our friends, aren't spying on us. Do you remember when it was revealed in all those cables that the Americans had been listening into all Angela Merkel's phone calls?
They've actively worked against us.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm saying it happens.
It's terrible.
Well, but he hasn't secured any commitment on the prisoner Jimmy Lai.
Yes.
Now, that would have been an advance.
Yes. True, very true. Listen, we're going to talk more about this story because it is really capturing the nation at the moment, isn't it? And a lot of you at home are messaging in about it too. So we will come back to what they're calling Starmer, Sir Kowtow Starmer, on this show. Listen, while we're talking about China, we all typically know our political editor, Chopper or Christopher Hope, smash hit analysis on Westminster's political point scoring. But little did we know of his flawless ping-pong skills.
Look at that. Oh, that's my slam. Here we go. Oh, hello. Hope you saw that live on GBNews. Amazing slam there. OK, I'm ready.
He's brilliant at it.
Well, he's better than I am, but my dad was a professional ping-pong player.
No, you brought the reality to ping-pong diplomacy.
Absolutely. My dad was, he played for Australia. He was known as Lou, the cheeky chappy Larsa, and in fact, that's why he came to this country. But he played for Australia, and they've digitised all the old magazines of the British Table Tennis Association or whatever, and so now when you Google him, you can find a picture of him showing two ladies in the 50s how to hold the bat.
Have you inherited?
No, I've got no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. He then went on to play cricket, but which I can't play either. But so all credit to Chopper.
Matthew Said.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was great. Yeah.
I was going to say ping-pong player.
All right,
whiff-waff.
Whiff-waff is what Boris Johnson said. Whiff-waff. Listen, coming up, breaking news on the front page of The Times. The government is preparing to prescribe Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organisation. I'll bring you all the details in just a few minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Yeah, that tea party taking place a little bit later on today. But before all of that, we are here on Pooh Bridge for an extra special game of Pooh Sticks. I've got some sticks here from the 100-acre wood that we're going to be using. There's a whole host of people here who have wanted to play Pooh Sticks with me. Lily and Anya have also been collecting sticks today. They're a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. Anya, what's Lily's favourite character?
It is Winnie the Pooh.
And what is it about Winnie the Pooh that's so popular, not only from people like you growing up, but also Lily now?
Well, we love all the stories and how there is a message from each of the stories as well. We read them every night. And what do you love about Winnie the Pooh as well? Honey, don't you? The little honey pots.
Amazing. Well, you get your sticks ready. We've also got a running group who have come here especially today to mark 100 years of Winnie the Pooh from Haywards Heath. They have all come prepared with their sticks. Some have even brought sticks from home. Sticks are at the ready. You've brought your sticks from home. What's your technique?
Well, mine are actually probably quite wet, which I've heard is not a good thing. I think they need to be a bit drier.
In 3, 2, 1, go. Right, the sticks are in the water, but who is gonna win here at Pooh Sticks Bridge? Oh, it wasn't me. There's the first stick to come through. Whose was that? Becky, you are the winner. Congratulations of Pooh Sticks on Pooh Sticks Bridge. But this is just the first round. They've got a whole clipboard here. There's 30 of them come for a whole tournament here today to play Pooh Sticks on what is Winnie the Pooh Day, marking 100 years since Winnie the Pooh was first published back in Christmas Eve of 1925. And this, of course, Winnie the Pooh Day being marked today on the birthday of A.A. Milne.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go over some more front pages together. The Times, Iranian Guard Corps to be treated as terrorists by the UK. Yeah, again, it feels like we're playing catch-up with the EU here, just falling in line to what they've done. The Independent, betrayal of 3.8 million women denied pension payout. That's the WASPy women, of course. Mirror, I've lost my brothers. That's, of course, boxing star AJ there. Express, Sophie's plea, don't snatch hope away from us. The Sun, gang raids Maya and Ruben's £4 million pad. All right, look, I think we should start on the front page of the Times here. The Iranian Guard Corps, the IRGC, is going to be treated as a terrorist group, Linda. About time, really.
Absolutely.
Why has it taken us so long?
I don't know, but, you know, it seems to take this government quite a long time to do anything in a truly affirmative way. But I think that the time has now come to declare the Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organisation. I mean, some of the pictures that we have seen, I know there's been an internet blackout and it's been hard to get really decent pictures out of Iran.
Yeah.
But they think the death toll now is in excess of 30,000 people. I mean, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is responsible for heinous crimes, but also the Iranians are perpetrating crimes in this country against our citizens. And it funds Hamas. So there is no reason why we shouldn't prescribe it as a terrorist organisation. I think that's the least that should happen.
I guess the only counterbalance to this, Lord Bailey, is I was just speaking to the Joe Bennett there, who's come in. Of course, his parents are being, what I would say, held hostage by the Iranian regime over there. There's leverage, I believe, by treating them as a terrorist organisation, the IRGC. That whole negotiation about getting them home will be gone, won't it?
It won't be, and a nation has to act for the nation, not for one family. Unfortunately, have to act this way. I think there's two big problems here. This Labour government never takes initiative. It's too busy worrying about how it appears, and I think it's actually worried about its Muslim vote, and that's why it moves slowly. And the other thing is about Europe. Europe could be and should be a superpower, but it's never decisive. there'd be a lot of people at home now who love Trump, some who hate him. But what Trump is giving to Europe is the idea that it needs to grow up and take some actions, look after its own defence, declare people prescribed if it needs to, and maybe project some power.
Yeah.
We in this country, we're big on soft power, and that's a great tool, but soft power does not work without hard power.
Yeah.
And Europe needs to learn that lesson as well. And if we want to help the people of Iran or anywhere else in the world, we've got to look prepared to take action. And these legal actions are the first step, and the second step may need to be something more severe.
Yeah, and we're talking about severity, Matthew, because I guess all of us holding our breath to see what Donald Trump does in the next 24, 48 hours, which is what the speculatory timeline is on this attack on Iran. Do you think Britain should be involved in that if we do go to war?
Look, I think it depends on exactly what he wants to do and how he's going to do it, because it needs to be for real, and it needs to help the Iranian people and not just be for show. I mean, the Venezuelan regime is still in place, which everybody seems to slightly gloss over. So it can't just be theatrical, it needs to be real. But if it's real, sensible, and it's going to aid the Iranian protesters, then I think Britain should consider being a part.
I think where Britain needs to be careful is, and also Trump, it's going to be very hard to help those people without being cast as an invader.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy for them to say, we have to treat you this way because, look, he's trying to get into the country. So I think America needs to be sophisticated about it, and they need to find a way. If they're going to physically, militarily hit somewhere, they've got to avoid civilians.
I think America will be under tremendous pressure from the Israelis, though, to actually do something that's going to be meaningful now. The Israeli cabinet met last Sunday, and that was partly to discuss the prospects of a US attack. And I think that even though we see now that the protests are, these tragic protests are now dying down, that doesn't mean to say that the window of opportunity has closed here. If the US doesn't take this window, I think it may not come again for many, many years. I think the US does have to act now. We shall see in the next few days.
They should go after their nuclear programme, because if the US is going to get some flack, there needs to at least be some upside. And if they have a nuclear programme, disrupting or destroying that nuclear programme will make the whole world.
The Russians,
they had a good attempt last June.
They did. The Russians have, I believe, they issued a statement which implied that we are going to war, by the way. They said, we hope the Americans won't go for the nuclear plants in Iran, which, for better or worse, you could argue is the right thing to do. But it does feel like we're in a very difficult situation here. Either we back America and Trump will be happy with that, or we don't back America, and I think Trump will be very unhappy with that.
We don't have to back America. What we need to do is find our own position, because, let's be clear, America could decide to do something that we're not interested in doing, so we can't back that. But what we've got to do, if America does the right thing, we have to be strong enough to say that was the right thing to do.
And we can certainly act in a supporting role.
Yeah, right just now, militarily, America don't need us.
Refuelling its IP,
true.
Sort of thing.
But solidarity in these terms always helps, right? Just very briefly go to The Independent. Very, 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 very brief thoughts from you guys. Betrayal of 3.8 million women denied the pension payout. This is the WASPy women. Linda, do you think they're owed a payout, and do you think we should be paying for them?
No. And I know that people would find that unexpected because I'm a woman and, I do understand there's a certain amount of pain involved here. But the fact is, the actual thing that was wrong here was the lack of communication, which the women say happened. Now, frankly, they could have seen the adverts, they could have opened the letters, they could have seen it. And the fact of the matter is, we simply can't afford this level of compensation. End of.
Yeah. Lord Bailey?
I think the problem here is, didn't the Labour government, when they're in opposition, say they were going to resolve this, they were going to pay out, they were going to end it? So these women feel betrayed again.
Not in the last election, but I can see what people think, but it wasn't. It was not in the last
To be clear, that's what these women think, and I think that's why the term betrayal's been thrown around. And it's a problem with how Labour behaved in opposition. They promised everybody everything. Now everybody's coming for their stuff.
Look, at the end of the day, you have to work for a little bit longer, and that's tough. It's hard. I know it is, because I have to work for longer. But you think about the younger generation, you think about Gen Z and millennials and what they are going to be facing at retirement age, and we've really got to be doing something to address that. That's far more
I think the big lesson from this is politicians should be careful what boards they hold up in the House of Commons, which campaigns they, when people come to see them, that they endorse, without having possibly thought through the country can't afford the 10 billion
The real
bill.
reason they can't do this is the welfare bill.
Yeah, and also, what documents they sign, all the money. We don't have any money, do we? The black hole's already building up again.
Can I just say, how are you going to get defence spending up if you're not going to cut benefits?
There you go. Right, there you go. Look, anyway, there's a whole boatload of news coming up in just a moment. Before that, let's find out what the weather's got in store for tomorrow.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Yet more unsettled weather to come. Lots of rain around during the next 24 hours. Snow for some northern areas, all of it accompanied by gusty winds. Low pressure well and truly in charge of the UK's weather at the moment. A south-shifted storm track means these lows are moving in from the southwest, relentlessly bringing more bands of rain in to much of south and southwestern UK. And those bands of rain moving northeastwards, bumping into colder air in the northeast. So could be issues at first overnight across Northern Ireland, the southwest, following yet more wet weather. But then, by the end of the night, there'll be some snow falling across parts of northern England, southern Scotland, most likely above 100, 200 metres, and not really settling until you get to 300 metres. But there'll be some wintry weather around first thing. The Grampians continuing to see persistent rain and hill snow, likewise accompanied by strong southeasterly winds. Northwest Scotland, once again the place to be, plenty of sunshine to start things off here. The more persistent rain clearing Northern Ireland, clearing the Midlands, and showers following. Brighter skies at first for the southwest, albeit with some showers, before the next system piles in by the afternoon, bringing once again persistent and at times heavy rain as well as gusty winds. None of these systems amounting to as much rain as we saw earlier in the week due to Storm Chandra, but not welcome anyway because of the saturated nature of the ground. And the rain in the northeast tending to persist, although the snow mostly confined to the tops of the Pennines and southern uplands by the afternoon. Saturday isn't looking quite as wet and windy. We do still have lots of showers rotating around a decaying area of low pressure in the south. They ease later in the day. Plenty of cloud cover. The driest weather towards the northwest and even some sunshine coming through. Feeling cold nevertheless. Sunday still a lot of cloud around before it turns unsettled again later Monday.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Is that it? The front page of the Daily Mail is absolutely scathing about the Prime Minister's visit to Beijing. They're calling him Sir Cao Tao Starmer. Gives the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew all the way over there to suck up to them. Damning stuff there. The front page of the Eye, the UK set to deport asylum seekers, Syrian ones, back to war-torn Syria. Is Shabana Mahmood getting even tougher on this? And on the front page of the Telegraph, revolt over cancelled elections. Are you one of the millions of people that's had their elections cancelled? And are you revolting against it? We'll be talking about all of that next.